Hey guys, it's Holly. So I have a very exciting review for you today. It's an item that I certainly didn't think that I would ever own, and it's an item that I certainly want to get my full money's worth and show off at any given moment so that I can justify my purchase to myself, and that is actually a San Diego Comic-Con minifigure. Now, I've known about these types of exclusives for years. The first sort of set that I ever heard about or learnt about were the Toy Fair exclusives when the superheroes theme first launched in general. And I'd always wanted them for years and years and years, and then as the superheroes theme went on, there were tons of different ones at every single convention. My favorite being, of course, the Andrew Garfield minifigure, which of course is the one that is the most expensive and in the highest demand and made in the lowest amount of quantities, which just is really depressing as an Andrew Garfield fan. Now, I'm a huge Spider-Man fan, so I wanted to try and get a hold of a Spider-Man San Diego Comic-Con figure, and my mentality was if everyone on this channel, not even everyone, if like less than half the people, if everyone just put in $1, then I could get that Andrew Garfield figure. That was a bit ambitious. So instead, I started up this little like thing. I mean, it was like a trend, but not really, where I sort of like jokingly said that I would put every single donation into the Spider-Man San Diego Comic-Con minifigure fund in order to get myself the PlayStation 4 Spider-Man. But then it turned out it wasn't actually a joke, and like people genuinely like got on board and wanted to help support this idea, which was insane. Thank you so much to everyone that donated. I have like a full sheet at like the end of each stream where I've like written down all of the donations. I seriously appreciate it because this purchase is an insane thing to do, and without your guys' support I wouldn't have been able to do it. Definitely not, and definitely not been able to justify it. So if you didn't see me sort of unbox this thing, I did a whole separate video on that. I was very excited, and I'm still very excited at the fact that I even have this, because today I wanted to show off and review the 2019, I read the back of the cardboard wrong, PS4 Spider-Man minifigure. Now, usually people would just keep these in their little containers and keep them all pristine condition. I have attached blue tack to this container, so maybe slightly decrease the value there. I've also opened it up, so again, slightly decrease the value there. But at the end of the day, I want to use this figure as a minifigure. I want to take it out. I want to take photos of him. I mean, in display wise, I'm going to keep him in his little case here, and I'm going to protect him at all costs. But I also want to enjoy Lego for the sake of enjoying Lego. So I wanted to make this review video and actually show it to you guys up close, because at the end of the day, without all of your help and continuous and unconditional support, I mean, it's not really unconditional, but without your support, I definitely wouldn't have been able to do this. So let's go and have a look at this guy. I'm really excited. And again, thank you so much. So here is the Spider-Man figure complete in his packaging. Now, this figure was an exclusive at San Diego Comic-Con in 2019 to go alongside with, at the time, the brand new PlayStation exclusive Spider-Man game, hence why his suit is exclusively sort of designed off that game variant. Now, so I do think the color could have been a tiny bit different. I mean, in-game, the suit was a really weird shade of blue, and the newer Spider-Man game sequel is a darker shade. And while I think the color of this figure is spectacular, technically it's not super accurate, but then again, I feel like if it was accurate, it would not look as good. Now, like the rest of the Comic-Con exclusives, it does come in this exclusive sort of plastic casing, so you can see the figure nice and clearly, but it also is really easy to open up if you want. None of these are sealed in any way, and it's got that exclusive Comic-Con stamping as well in the corner there. It sort of does say 6 and up, however, I don't imagine you'd ever give a 6-year-old child an item like this just because of how limited and rare they are. And then on the back you have a little advertisement for Lego Marvel Superheroes, as well as a banner saying Marvel Gamerverse, and nothing too special here. Now, back when this minifigure sort of first hit the market after Comic-Con, prices were around, I'd say around $250, $300, maybe $400 US, whereas these days they're sort of going for around $850, $900, and probably will continue to trend up, especially with the release of the sequel to this game next year, which means this Spider-Man suit will be back in the news, back being popular again, which is why personally I wanted to get mine now. Of course, with Comic-Con figures in general, the earlier you can buy these, the cheaper they are going to be because the prices just skyrocket, especially after COVID. There was a huge price hike with all of these things. Now, I've done some research online and I cannot find any listing to how many of these figures were made. I imagine it would be somewhere around 5,000 that were given out. I can't see it being any more. I also think if it was a lot less, the prices of these would be even higher. But let's open this guy up and actually take a super close look at him. So here is Spider-Man up close, and this figure is gorgeous. Like I said, the color isn't technically accurate, but honestly, I really like the use of this blue. It reminds me of just very simple, just sort of old Spider-Man, old-timey comic book suits, and I think it looks really good. I also think this is actually closer to what we will see in the Spider-Man game sequel, which makes me really excited. The headband for this figure as well is very slick. It almost does actually remind me of the sort of newer Spider-Man eye printing with that metallic silver in the very top corner. It looks really neat, but also is very similar to something that we do see today. I love the spider printing on the torso. It's unlike any suit that we've already gotten. Also, the leg printing and the hip printing looks incredibly clean. I love the foot printing too, with all of the little black detailed lines, as well as the white accents. It is a shame that there's no side leg printing. I mean, for a figure this exclusive, this special, it's quite a shame that there's just not that much detail on the arms or the legs, especially because this suit was very intricate and very well designed. The back printing though is incredibly neat as well. I love all of the fine lines and detailing on this figure, which is something that I just feel like we don't really get in the retail sets these days. The lines look a lot thicker and a lot messier, whereas this one looks very fine, very beautiful, and just incredibly intricate, which is something that I really love. Now, in terms of how accurate it is to the suit, I think LEGO did an amazing job with this, and it really is a shame that this was an exclusive figure. I feel like a lot of people would have wanted to buy this, just judging by the reaction of when people like Otto Octavius had variations appear in sets that were very similar to the ones in the game, as well as the stealth suit even from the sort of Spider-Man lair. But I'm really glad to have this in my collection. This is a figure that I never thought I would own. And if you are seriously considering buying a figure like this and you are able to spend that money on a figure, I would definitely recommend buying it sooner rather than later just because of the new game releasing. However, this figure is ridiculously expensive and incredibly rare, and it's not something that is going to be available to every single person for their collection, just like the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man. So I really do hope, actually, despite owning this and despite spending the amount of money that I did, that LEGO do sort of remake a different version. Maybe the printing's incredibly different. Maybe it's not as detailed. Maybe it's just a bit more messy and not as intricate and not as refined. I feel like it would be good though to have a version of this torso and maybe some plain legs appear in a set in the future. Then again, I don't really see LEGO doing that just because this game is a very heavy Sony property, whereas from my knowledge as well, LEGO deal a lot closer with Disney in terms of when they're designing Spider-Man things, so I just don't think they have as close a relationship, hence sort of why even the Miles Morales figure was a con exclusive too. Overall though, even though this guy is incredibly collectible and rare, I do still want to take photos of him. I still want to pose him in things. I mean, I would love to add him to my bugle. However, I don't think I can sort of bring myself to do that. But I love the way that this figure looks, and I'm incredibly grateful and incredibly lucky to have him a part of my LEGO collection.